A League of Their Own from 1992. Film directed by Penny Marshall, starring Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, and Laura Petty. The IMDb plot summary: during World War II, sisters Dottie and Kit joined the first female professional baseball league and struggled to help it succeed amid their own growing rivalry. So it was initially hard for me to think like what was actually the first movie I saw of Tom Hanks and my first actual impression of him in a film versus sort of knowing that he was an actor. But then once I kind of looked back at his filmography, I remembered definitely this movie was the first movie that I had seen, not in the theater, but rented it from the video store. And it was a movie I watched a lot as a kid. And
Mm.
this definitely was the first time I was able to see Tom Hanks in a role. And he's not the main character in this film, he's a
No.
supporting character. But to me, this really did solidify that view that I have of him being not perfect character. Like he's a drunk. He's sometimes sexual harassing, smacking some of the baseball players in ways that they definitely shouldn't he should have done. But he's a guy with a good heart. He's trying to overcome these challenges in his with his alcoholism. He obviously what used to be a famous baseball player, and now he's has to manage a women's league. So there's sort of this feeling of that he failed, that he's trying to overcome in his life. So he has problems. He's not this perfect guy, but you can tell by the end of the movie, and he definitely really does care about the team, care about the players, does try to want them to succeed, even though in the beginning he doesn't care about anything. And that to me felt him very, as a kid watching, it's like a really relatable, kind of like nice, funny guy. There's a lot of good, his comedic talents are put to play here. Is one of my favorite urination scenes in a movie
Oh yeah.
when he goes in at the urinal. I mean, that's got to be up there with like the Austin Powers urinal scene. And I always thought that was very well, funny, but very well done in terms of his physical comedy. So yeah, it's a sweet movie too. And I think that is also like sort of this, Americana with baseball and get a nice, really sweet story. And that is all these things that I still associate with Tom Hanks to this day. He's not like a bad guy who's in hard-edged movies. There's always a well-rounded, nice film that he's in. So this one had to be my first love of Hanks. And I'll talk more about the film in a bit, but just curious what your first impressions were of A League of Their Own and what you thought of Hanks in them.
Yeah, I thought I'd watched this movie, but on watching it this time, I was like, oh, maybe I've not watched this movie end to end, or at least I didn't remember much of it, or maybe I did watch it. But yeah, I was kind of surprised because I just was going into the movie with that baggage that, yeah, he's going to be the nice guy from the get-go and, help this team out. I was sort of pleasantly surprised by what a not a nice guy he is in the beginning. He's a drunk, he's selfish and kind of overweight and kind of, off the rockers. And it takes a bit of a journey for him to get there. So yeah, it was interesting to kind of see him in that light because I was not expecting that. I just expected him to be the Tom Hanks we all know and love. And so to me, it felt like a character departure. And he's actually very good. This is the thing with movie stars who are very good at one thing that you just want to see them do that over and over again. But the truth is, Tom Hanks is also a very good actor. Like he
Hmm.
sells the schlubby, sort of losery kind of guy really well. But the same elements of relatability, sparkle behind the eye, charm, they're all there. And that's why you root for him. And you know that he's going to make it to the other side. Now, the magic is the how.
Right.
And that's where the performance comes in. I think this movie is mounted very beautifully. Everything kind of works together. It's very entertaining and funny. I love movies set in this time anyway, because it's just so fun to watch the things that people wore and ate and all of that. So yeah, it was great to see him in the slide. It was great to watch the movie end to end.
Yeah, I again, like I said, I watched this a lot of times as a young kid growing up. Hadn't seen it, I think, in 20 years. Like it's not a
Mm.
movie I put in constant rotation now. Actually, it's sort of forgotten about the framing element where they start in the
It's
modern
very
modern
cool.
day at the time, which is really nice to see all these old women kind of getting
Yeah.
together and then reminiscing, and then you go back and see the story of how this baseball league was founded and all the things that they dealt with, and then end also with a lot of the older ladies at the end, which I really liked going through the museum.
Yeah.
And I'd totally forgotten about that part. I mean, maybe I'd seen it so much on cable too, where I only would sort of watch the middle bits and not sit through the whole thing. So you'd kind of miss the beginning and the end. But yeah, I think it's a very charming and fun, I guess, family movie. I would call it a family movie, I guess, even though it's not necessarily about a family. But it's, yeah, I love the baseball stuff too. It's one of
Yeah.
just great baseball movie of teams kind of getting together and seeing who's going to win. And the sister rivalry too, I think works very, very
Very
well.
well
Gina Davis
done.
and Laura Petty, and then really that is the heart of the film. And
Right.
it's a movie about a sibling relationship, and the baseball piece is just kind of a framing. It doesn't get bogged down in the history and the detail of how the women's league was founded and all the details about how they put it together and how well it was doing. I mean, it's all there, but it's at the periphery. I think the movie would be more of a historical drama if they focused
Hmm.
on that. But I love how this movie is basically just a relationship drama with all this interesting history that I definitely didn't know about as a kid, that there was a women's baseball league. I had no idea. And this movie, I think, educated me on that, but it was more entertaining, not because of the baseball elements and the history. It was their relationship, which I think is just
Their
so,
relationship.
they
Yeah.
do such a good job as sisters in this.
Yeah. So good. Gina Davis is so good. But they're both really good. And I love that like Gina Davis's character, who's presented as sort of, she's the perfect one, gets things right. And normally such a character is kind of punished in some way or the other, and she's not punished. Like, she owns up to a mistake, she's not perfect, but she's also very good at what she does, and it's kind of refreshing to see that kind of character on screen. You root for her, like, genuinely. She looks great. It just has such a look that really
Yeah.
feels like from that time, and she's so tall and so poised, and it was so great to watch her. I was like, oh, Gina Davis is kind of her in her own league. No
Oh,
pun
but,
intended.
oh,
She
that
kind
wasn't
of is.
intended.
Nobody else has kind of been that like that, I think, since
No.
she also has like an Barbara Stanwyck sort of like, actresses from the golden era of movies kind of vibe to her.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And also with the Laura Petty character too, like making her jealous, but also good. Like she's good on
Yeah,
her own. It's not that she just
she's a
wishes she had the
loser.
talents of her sister and she's trying to get them, but she never makes it in terms of the skill. Like she's also very talented too, but
Right,
there is that jealousy and competition that still exists between both of them in very subtle and different ways, which I think is refreshing too, because again, there's a story, a way to do this where, like you said, the great sister who's very well gets kind of punished, and the other sister isn't really that good, but she's trying to, and she cheats
right.
to somehow get ahead. It's like, no, feels more organic and real to me, and I love that sibling rivalry in this movie.
Yeah. And also the love story angle, I think is handled pretty delicately because Gina Davis is married, and you see that Tom and him, especially as Tom is sort of coming into his own and having this own kind of transformation because of being part of this team and these women, that there is a connection between them that feels very authentic, and but it's handled quite delicately. That again could have gone very soapy or melodramatic, but none of that happens. Actually, it's a very smart screenplay. I mean, props to Penny Marshall.
Yeah, yeah, I think that relationship between Tom Hanks and Gina Davis is interesting too because it feels like there is a chemistry there and a respect and in a way, I guess you
Mhm.
could say love for one another, but it's more of like a colleague
Right,
situation and that being more from respect. And the movie very easily could have turned into like will they, won't they, with
right.
Tom Hanks and Gina Davis, and it never even gets there, but
No,
it doesn't feel like you want it to as an audience
no.
member. You're just like, oh, that's cool. Like they're helping each other in
Yeah,
terms
you feel like
of
Gina's met her match,
right,
and it's
right.
good to see him realize who he is through her because he's sort of given up.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and also just speaking of actors, like shout out to the large cast of sort of secondary characters.
Madonna.
Rosie O'Donnell's fantastic in this. John Lovitz, I mean, not in the movie very much, but so funny and memorable.
Yeah,
Madonna, I think her best performance in a movie, just so
she's
good.
very
And
good in
then
it.
Bill Pullman just sliding in there and doing what he needs to do. It's kind of a thankless role, but as the boyfriend who's off at war, husband who's off at war and comes back, but he's very good at those types of parts.
Oh yeah.
Hi there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I review a new release and then discuss 6 other movies made by that film's actor or director and how they shaped us. Subscribe right now or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.